Welcome to Beyond Six Figures, the podcast that helps business coaches to micro-niche, get noticed, and become fully booked. Learn from top industry leaders who've successfully taken their businesses and their lives beyond six figures. Get ready to level up your coaching business and make this world a better place, one business at a time. And now, here's your host, Ziv Raviv.
Welcome to Beyond Six Figures. Our guest today is Heather Moulder, a former big law partner turned lawyer business coach and host of the Life and Law podcast. She helps attorneys build seven-figure books of business without burnout by pairing mindset with hard-nosed strategy across sales, leadership, and systems, and leads the Elevate Business Development Mastermind for sustained, value-aligned growth. I'm so excited to have Heather here with us. Hello, Heather. How are you?
Hello there. I am great this morning. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to learn more about your journey and to share this with our folks listening to this, to Beyond Six Figures. So let's start with a question that maybe you've received before. Transitioning from being a lawyer to being a business coach, that's a bold move.
It's different, especially when you're in big law. I don't know if you know what big law is, but it's I was in one of the largest international law firms in the U.S. and had a very good, lucrative, multimillion-dollar business that I had, created, and everything was great. So why would I leave? And it actually goes back a little bit. So back in 2012, a long while ago now, I was 38 years old and I was diagnosed with aggressive breast cancer. And my kids were very young at the time. They were 6 and 2. One is now in college, one is now in high school. But it was a moment where I remember sitting back and thinking about who would come to my funeral if this didn't work out. What would people say about me? And yeah, I'm sure they'd say I was nice, good mom, that kind of a thing. But I didn't feel like I'd made much of an impact. And no, I did not know then I was going to leave law. But it was kind of the seed that was planted. So I went through an almost year-long period of fighting off breast cancer, going through a bunch of surgeries, got through that, was cancer-free, have been cancer-free for many years since, went back to work full-time, continued to build my practice, was very, very profitable, pretty happy. And then a couple of years down the road, I was washing dishes. And I had this weird experience where I felt like I was looking at myself from afar, from like above. And I saw this person who looked like me, sounded like me, but no longer felt like me. And I didn't quite know what that meant. And so that kicked off a several-year journey into figuring out, well, what does this mean? Do I want to practice anymore? If I do, what does it look like? I had no clue what coaching was back then. Lawyers back then had no clue what coaching was. And this was only like 10 years ago, maybe now. It's just becoming very well known amongst the legal community what coaching is. And I was lucky enough to know somebody who did some coaching. And she, in an offhanded remark, as I was going through this process, said, Heather, you should consider coaching. I think you'd be good at it. And so that got me interested. I joined a coach school to see what it was all about. Did that in the background while still building my practice and practicing law, and ultimately went to my husband one day and said, I don't want to practice anymore, and I think I want to leave and coach. So that's kind of how it came. But it was a very long process over many years. I think it's funny, we all tend to think these moments come to us in this one, like, aha. I don't think they do. Most of the time, it's a slow process. And then the aha comes towards the end, where it all fits together finally, and you figure out, oh, this is what this has meant.
From going through an aggressive, scary period of time, aggressive cancer, huge risks, really thinking about death and about your legacy, and getting through it, and then realizing that you're kind of out of place in your life. You have something else that you want, and slowly realizing that you are changing or that you have the potential to change. and eventually trying to double with both of them together, all through, like we're recapping like a few years of your life now. But then you made it into something that you're planning to do. You were feeling ready. I bet at the beginning, it was a little bit hard to find your first few clients, or how
Yes.
did you go about that?
I mean, my first few clients were people I knew and trusted, and I just it was word of mouth. What was interesting is when I left the practice to start my business, I really didn't know what kind of coach I wanted to be. And I initially thought I wanted to help with life transitions and work-life balance. And unfortunately, there are a bajillion coaches out there doing that. It's very hard to break into when you're just starting out. And over the course, I did that for a couple of years and really, really struggled. And I finally realized as more and more lawyers started to come to me, and then an old friend of mine came to me and was like, Heather, you built a multi-million-dollar practice. Why are you not doing business coaching for lawyers? You'd be perfect for this. It's like the light bulb clicked finally. And I'm like, oh, I should be working only with lawyers. And at least a piece of this should be business coaching. That makes sense. And it excited me. The other work really didn't. I felt like I was supposed to do that kind of a work because that's what coaches do. And it was just the wrong thing. Once I finally figured out what I wanted to do, things started to fast forward for me because, as you well know, it is really hard to get clients if you don't know what you really want to do because you can't market. You don't know who you're speaking to. And that's when I started my podcast. That's when I went all in on lawyer coaching.
I love this. You tried the hard way of talking to everyone and solving all of the problems that coaching can solve, and started to realize through the hard work of your power base, having people that refer to you, starting to realize your best clients are actually lawyers. They have more questions to ask you. They have more benefits from working with you. And then you transitioned into niching down to being a business coach for lawyers.
Yep.
So tell me a little bit, you decided to launch a podcast. Tell me how this transformed your coaching career.
Oh my gosh, it made everything easy, or at least feel easy. And I'm not saying it's not hard work, because it is. I put hours in, I do a lot of marketing, I do all the things. But I feel aligned. Values are very important to me, very aligned to what I'm doing, to who I'm serving. I know who I'm speaking to. And it enabled me to really use my skills and strengths in a way that I enjoy. So I really love storytelling. I teach storytelling to my clients from a marketing perspective. I did a lot of that in my lawyer days. That's how, when you networked and you found somebody that could be a client, you started asking good questions. And then you asked, well, what about this? Oh, I've seen that before. We had this issue. And you would sell through storytelling. At least that's how I would do it. And it's frankly a lot more effective way. And so, of course, I had a lot of stories to share that were helpful for people. And so that's what I started doing. And it naturally started bringing not just clients to me, but the right fit clients. So, because when I storytell, I showcase my personality. I showcase how I work with people. I showcase my framework. It shows everything. And it's not a fit for everybody. But when you do it that way, it's a fit for somebody, and those people are more naturally attracted to you. So it made it a lot easier for me once I went all in on that and understood, okay, this is what I'm doing. This is who my clients will be. This is who I want. Let's just speak to them.
I love this for so many reasons. You found, you found the tribe that you were already a part of, and you started to talk with them. And it made your life aligned with your goals, with everything you say. You have a reason. You know your avatar. You know how to talk to your tribe, to the listeners. And you started to attract the right type of clients. And that also means like clients that are a good fit on the values level, and also on like people that are coachable, people that will pay you your fees and so on. So it's just such a huge transformation just by, one big decision and putting in the work and the reps. And putting in the work is something you actually did for quite a while now. And
Yes.
you recently launched your 200th podcast episode, and I want to congratulate you. It's a very, very meaningful milestone. And I want to ask you about the early days of launching the podcast, especially from the standpoint of finding people that will be agreeing to be interviewed on your show. Because nowadays, I know it's getting easier, right? People respond well.
I have way more people now reaching out than I can even handle. And sorry if any of you are listening and I haven't gotten back. I just can't get back to every single person that reaches out to me. Some of them are really not good fits, and they obviously didn't do their research. But yeah, in the early days, it was a little harder. So I mostly reached out to people I knew and trusted. And it wasn't for me. And I know there are different ways of launching a podcast and growing it for a lot of different methods out there and different advice. For me, it was never about growing as big as I could. It was always about, look, I only have so much time in the day and I can only take on so many clients. And I'm certain there are others out there who could learn something from my experience, both in practicing for over 18 years and then now through my coaching of clients in the same space. So that's what the purpose for the podcast always was. It is about meeting them where they are and helping them get to that next step, wherever that next step is. So I have been very careful about not just my podcast topics, but the guests I bring on. Some of my guests, yes, have bigger followings. Many of them do not. I bring them on not because of their following and how many people they'll bring to me, but because they actually answer questions, have value and wisdom that my people need to hear. So I've been very targeted about that. And it wasn't as hard as I thought, actually, in the beginning days. And maybe that has changed for people who are starting out just because there are so many podcasts out there and so many people asking for, guest opportunities. But I've found that most people will say yes if you have an audience they care about and a topic they can really speak to that makes sense for them, that they care deeply about. And if you can get specific about, here's what I want, here's why I want you, here's what my audience will learn from you, most people say yes, at least for me. So
I love how authentic your answer is and real, just like it's so important for you to be aligned with your values and who you are. Even this way that you decide who to approach and whatnot, it's more about the connection and the relationship that you want to build. And eventually it's about, you go ahead and you do it. You ask, and you eventually, sometimes you'll get a no, sometimes you'll get a yes. But,
and I would say this, I don't just randomly reach out to people, right? So I'm targeted. And if there's somebody I want to get in front of, it's usually, I start with LinkedIn. I make sure we connect there. I make sure there's other people I know that are connections. I ask people for an introduction. If you can get an introduction from somebody that knows them, you're much more likely to get them on your show. I develop relationship. It's all about relationship building, just like you do when it comes to any marketing activity. So.
Love it. So I want to talk about this topic of doing enough in your business. Something we discussed briefly before starting this interview. A lot of business coaches think that their goal in this world is to make more money and to continually grow forever. And that's we actually know that. Not only it's sometimes impossible, there's scaling issues, there's problems, there's only 24 hours in a day.
Yep.
But there's also preferences around this and life choices around this that are really important to acknowledge. And you, Heather, seems to be okay and can live in peace without trying to always grow to some imaginary next goal and next goal and next goal. So how would you consider your enough? What is enough for you?
So a lot of this I was lucky enough to learn through the practice of law that this is a big issue with lawyers, to be honest with you, where we are told to follow a certain path. This is what quote unquote success is, and you just do it without thinking. And it's why so many lawyers are incredibly unhappy. And I went through that myself as I was building my legal practice. So thankfully, I was able to pull it over into this business and start off this business much more intentionally, having learned it there. And what I learned there was, okay, if I got beyond a certain level, I knew I would have to massively grow. I would have to have a much bigger team. I would have to become this, I used to call them fiefdoms. Rainmakers have what I call fiefdoms in their law firms, that everybody works for them. And it seems wonderful, but their whole life revolves around that in the firm and keeping it going. And I was paying a lot of attention when I came out to all these so-called big guru, these people in the online coaching space. Yeah, build a membership, have all these courses, do all these things. And it sounded lovely until I started thinking about, okay, no, this wouldn't work for me for a whole host of reasons based on my specific strengths and values. But also, I don't want to be that big. I don't need to be the next biggest thing. I'm here to help people, and I just need to make a certain amount of money. So my husband and I were very intentional from a very early stage. I was made partner in my law firm in 2008. And for those of you who don't know, 2008 was the year of the financial crisis. I was a lending attorney. That's the worst business you could have been in at that time. I made partner that year with a small book of business that was 100% gone by the end of the year and never coming back. So I had to pivot a little bit, retrench, and build from scratch after that. And that, though, made me sit down, and my husband too, as a couple, and think, okay, what is enough? What do we really need? And ultimately, it came down to, we want to be financially secure so we can retire by a certain age. Well, how much do we need there? And we were pretty well taken care of, thankfully, because we'd been saving from an early age and investing from an earlier age. Okay, well, then what is enough for now? And I went through this whole process of, if I gave this up, and we did a lot of that already. And then when I left the practice for my new business, I was ready to not make money for a couple of years because I knew it was going to be hard. And by the way, big law lawyers make good money. I was walking away from a lot of money. So we again sat down and very intentionally let go of things and changed our lifestyle. And frankly, it was for the better. We were able to We cook. I love to cook. My husband loves to grill and cook. And so we did that and made it a family activity. We've taught our boys how to do that. We did things in a way where we enjoyed it. And this is not everybody's way, but we would enjoy it. Get more, family time and things together and still make enough money. And so I would challenge anybody out there as they're building their business to make sure you've stepped back and really thought about, what does success mean to me? Based on my values, based on what matters to me in life, not just my business. It's not just about the money. And be honest with yourself, though, about how much you really do want and need to feel stable and secure.
I love this. So what would you say is your capacity in these days for one-on-one clients?
Well, currently I have a waiting list. So I am thinking I'll be able to open it and take a couple of clients in this fall. And then I also have a small intimate group mastermind program for lawyers that is specifically revolved around building their book of business that will be launched this fall. It's a 6-month process that they go through with me, very intimate, still a lot of one-on-one in there, which is what I like. And that I sell in the fall once a year. So that is where I have the most capacity. But I'll probably have a couple of spots coming open this fall that I will fill pretty quickly because I have a wait list. So.
And is there a number of maximum amount of clients that you're willing to, I'm not talking about the opening, but is there a number where you check?
When it comes to individual clients, around 20 to 25, 20 is really the best. I will take up to 25 if I feel like it somewhat depends on my clients because of the way I offer packages. They're package-based. They pay me a set amount for what's really a year of service. And they have VIP access to me to look at marketing materials and answer quick questions when things come up. Some of my clients use that intensely. Some of them use it a little bit. Some of them use it not at all. And so I'm always having to make sure that mix is just right, so it's not too much. But honestly, it's very manageable. I have a lot of free time for my marketing and going to my kids' football and baseball games and all of that with the business that I've built.
How often do you meet those one-to-one clients?
So most of my clients meet monthly.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So lawyers, they're busy. They cannot meet all the time. And it's one of those funny things that I would also offer up to people. When I was in coach school, everybody recommended meeting every other week or every week, which I was like, you're crazy. There's no way. Right. And I'm coming from a legal background and I know like, no way I would ever do that. And no way lawyers would ever do that. It's hard for them to make once a month sometimes. Like if somebody goes into trial, they could have a 4 to 6 week period where they are crazy busy and can't make a call. And so, you know, I've structured it that gives them a little lag way if it needs to go over a year because of that. But yeah, monthly works well for my clients. So figure out what actually works for your people and provide that to them.
This is so important to hear that for everyone. And you know what? There are different niches where week to week, like if you're just starting out as a business owner, you maybe you did 6 figures and you're trying to get to that 500K or beyond. You need more hand-holding, potentially. You have big problems to solve. But lawyers that are already kind of pretty established, the people that will contact you and want your coaching and your
Yes.
support, they're more established. It makes total sense to meet them monthly. They will be upset if they are paying for a weekly service.
Oh, yeah. No. They just don't have time for that, right?
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen. I mean, and it depends on your niche, right? So I'm a business coach to lawyers. If you are a weight loss coach, you're probably going to meet with them more often, at least initially, right? So it's highly dependent on the business that you're building and who your clients are and what they need and want.
What's the next step for you, Heather? Is there a next step, really?
Probably. And I think it's probably 2 to 3 years away. I like where I am right now. I have, as I said, a kid in high school. He's a sophomore. 3 years, he'll be gone. I do some speaking, but I'm really, really limited on what I'm willing to do because a lot of it requires travel. I could see me doing a lot more of that once he's out of the house and I'm an empty nester. And my husband can work from almost anywhere just like I can. So that would probably be the next bigger step, but everything's good for now. So
I want to invite people to go and check out your work for a lot of reasons, including it's just so pretty. Your website, your podcast episodes, your attention to details. It just makes me want to become a lawyer and become a better lawyer by just listening and consuming your content. You really did a good job there. So where can people go and learn more about what you do?
So if you are on LinkedIn, I'm on LinkedIn. It's Heather Moulder, Moulder. I am at coursecorrectioncoaching.com and lifeinlawpodcast.com is where my podcast is.
And we're going to put all those links in the show notes so people can find you more easily. Thank you so much for taking the time to connect with us and to share with us your story, Heather. And thank you, everyone, for listening for another episode of Beyond 6 Figures.
Thanks for listening to Beyond 6 Figures. Check out the extended show notes that include bonus material, practical tips, and exclusive resources on our website, zivraviv.com. Until next time, keep dreaming big and pushing your business and your life beyond 6 figures.